Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Toastmasters and guests, I'd like to start by asking a question of the group. Who has bought or sold a house with a real estate agent in the last 5 years? And including myself. Who among you had this brochure, Working with Real Estate Agents, explained to you by the real estate agent? Had you sign off on this panel, kept the panel, and give the brochure back to you? As I suspected. Did you know that the North Carolina Real Estate Commission requires that all real estate agents present this to anyone they're working with at first, substantial contact, and have you sign off on it and keep that panel in their files for the next 3 years? That's why I'm here today, to talk to you about real estate agency in North Carolina and why it's important. It's very important to know in what capacity the real estate agent that you're speaking with, in what capacity they're working, and when I say what capacity, what type of agency that they're performing for you. Because if the agent is working for the other party, then any personal confidential information that you give to them can potentially, and in some cases has to be, given to the other party. In general, any real estate agent that's working for you in an agency capacity owes you 5 things. And we use an acronym called LOADS to remind ourselves of what they are. L stands for loyalty. The agent owes you loyalty. O for obedience. He has to obey your lawful requirements. A for accountability. He has to keep account of any monies that you give to him. D is for disclosure. He has to disclose to you any material facts about the property or give you material disclosure forms for you to fill out. And S is skill, care, and diligence. So now that brings me to the topic of my little talk, is the 4 types of agency and what's important about them and what they mean to you. The 4 types are the seller's agency, which is also known as the listing agent, a buyer agency, dual agency, and seller sub-agency. So to start with, I'm going to talk a little bit about the seller's agency, also known as a listing agent. And this is when you have a house to sell and you need an agent to authorize to represent you with buyers. And the most important thing that listing agent has to do is keep any confidential personal information that you give him private. For example, recent divorce, loss of job, or the limits of your financing. Because if these are things that a buyer knew, it would hurt you in the negotiation process. So if you're a buyer and you're working with a seller's agent, don't tell him anything that you don't want the seller to know. The second type of agency is buyer's agency. And this is obviously when you're looking to buy a house and you need an agent to represent you in the buying process. Now this type of agency agreement can be oral or written. And if you're under a buyer's agency agreement, then you're considered a client by that agent, and it's safe to give him any personal confidential information. If you're working with a buyer's agent and you're not under an agreement, either oral or written, then you're considered a customer, and you should not give him any personal or confidential information about yourself. Also, a buyer's agency has to be in writing before that agent can commit an offer to writing to the seller. Third type of agency is dual agency. And this is basically when the listing agent and a buying agent both work for the same firm. So if you hire a listing agent and there's a buyer that has a buyer's agent that works for the same firm, that would be dual agency. And you have to agree to that before you can purchase a house or sell your house in that manner. Or if you're a buyer's agent, if you have a buyer's agent and you're looking at a house that's listed by a listing agent in the same firm, again, that's dual agency. And you have to have that in writing, and you have to agree to it before they can perform in a dual agency manner. Dual agents must treat both buyers and sellers fairly and equally. They can't divulge any personal information, and they can't negotiate for you. The fourth type is seller sub-agency. And this is basically when a third party is showing you a house that you're not under an agency agreement with. And if you're not under an agency agreement with them, then they are automatically working for the seller. So that means any personal confidential information that you tell to this third party, they have to tell the seller. The only thing they owe you is to have to be fair and any material disclosures, such as a leaky roof or that type of thing. So in conclusion, I hope that my little talk about the 4 types of agency, selling agency, buying agency, dual agency, and seller sub-agency, will help everyone remember that until you know what kind of agency agreement you're under, don't tell a North Carolina Real Estate any personal confidential information about yourself. Thank you, Mr. Tesman.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot from that. Thank you.